The girl at the door. It was a quiet Friday night in Harriet Creek Ranch, Texas. November 22, 2019. The kind of evening where the streets seemed to hum with the silence of routine suburban life. Porch lights flickered across rows of identical houses, the faint sound of a television bled through one of the windows, and the air was cool with the first hints of winter. But at exactly 8:03 p.m., something disturbed that peace. A motion sensor blinked red on a front porch camera, the kind that most homeowners forget even exists. The feed began recording, and what it captured would haunt millions of viewers for years to come. A young girl appeared, stepping cautiously into the frame. She couldn't have been older than 9 or 10. Her hair was tangled, her clothes dusty, and she held a small flashlight trembling in her hand. Her eyes darted from side to side as if something, or someone, was following her. "Help, please!" Her voice cracked. It wasn't the playful tone of a child lost during a game, it was raw fear. She knocked on the door again and again, looking over her shoulder each time. But the house she had chosen was empty. The owners were away on vacation, hundreds of miles from home. "Please help me!" she cried once more, her small fists pounding on the door. The camera caught every desperate second, the way her chest heaved, the way her flashlight beam flickered against the cold siding of the house, and the way her eyes filled with tears before she vanished from view. When the homeowners finally checked the footage days later, it was already too late. The girl was gone. No one in the neighborhood had seen her. No missing person report matched her description. The house she approached stood as silent as it had that night, except for the haunting echo of her voice through the doorbell speaker. The internet theories begin. When the footage was uploaded online, it spread like wildfire. Within hours, the video had been viewed hundreds of thousands of times. The girl's frightened face became the center of every Reddit thread, every true crime forum, every YouTube theory. Some believed she was being chased, that she had escaped from a kidnapper, running through the night in search of any door that would open. Others claimed it was a setup, a tactic used by home invaders to lure unsuspecting homeowners into unlocking their doors. It was an unsettling idea, but not unheard of. Criminals had used similar tricks before, sending a terrified child or woman to knock while others waited in the shadows. But there was something in this girl's trembling voice that didn't feel fake. Her panic was real. Her fear was real. Still, without any proof, no one knew what to believe. A possible identity. Then came the theory that captured everyone's attention. Some viewers noticed how the girl resembled Serenity Dennard, a 9-year-old who had vanished 9 months earlier in South Dakota. Serenity was known to have emotional and behavioral struggles and had run away from a youth treatment center called Black Hills Children's Home in February 2019. Despite a massive search involving hundreds of volunteers, she was never found. Could she have made it all the way to Texas? People pointed to the girl's voice, her build, even her hairstyle. The resemblance was uncanny. They imagined a horrific story, that Serenity had been taken, moved from state to state, and somehow managed to escape long enough to beg for help at a stranger's door. But when Serenity's family reviewed the footage, they said it wasn't her. The heartbreak in their voices was unmistakable, a mix of denial, exhaustion, and the faintest spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, their daughter was still out there. The footage fades into mystery. Police followed up on every lead. They checked local shelters, hospitals, schools. Nothing. The girl in the video had no name, no record, and no trace. Eventually, the search cooled, and the internet moved on to other mysteries. Yet for those who had watched the video, especially the residents of Harriet Creek Ranch, the image never left their minds. Every night they checked their locks twice. Every creak in the dark made them glance at their own doorbell camera. Because sometimes the scariest part of a mystery isn't what you see, it's what you never find out. And on that cold Texas night, one thing was clear. A child begged for help, but no one was there to answer. 6 years later, the identity of the girl, and the truth behind that footage, remains unsolved. But as investigators would soon learn, Harriet Creek Ranch wasn't the only neighborhood where doorbell cameras recorded horror. In the years that followed, more strange and chilling encounters began to surface, each one darker than the last. Perfect. Here's Chapter 2, 700 words, of the story, written in the same cinematic YouTube true crime tone, keeping the suspense and realism consistent with Chapter 1. It transitions naturally from the mystery of the unidentified girl to the next shocking case, the story of Alison Duckrow and James Rail. The visit that should never have happened. It was a warm summer morning in Sydney, Ohio, July 31, 2022. The sky was bright, the streets were quiet, and the Duckrow family had just returned home from breakfast. On the surface, it was the kind of morning that promised nothing but normalcy. But hidden within that calm, a tragedy was already set in motion. As Alison Duckrow unlocked her front door, she didn't notice the car that had slowly pulled into the driveway behind her. The engine idled for a moment, then went silent. The driver's side door opened, and a young man stepped out. It was 22-year-old James Rail, her ex-boyfriend, someone she hadn't spoken to in nearly 18 months. A message from the past. The night before, Alison had received a strange voicemail from James. His voice was soft but uneasy, as if he was fighting his own mind while speaking. "Hi, Ollie, it's James. I wanted to reach out to you. Maybe hear from you, it's been a while." He rambled for minutes, his tone shifting between nervousness and desperation. It was the kind of message that leaves you cold. Not threatening, but wrong in a way you can't quite name. Alison never replied. She didn't have to. Their relationship had ended long ago, and she had moved on. But that message was a warning, one she didn't realize until it was far too late. The doorbell notification. That morning, her phone buzzed. The doorbell camera had detected motion. She opened the live feed, and there he was. James, standing on her porch, staring directly at the lens. He didn't knock. He didn't speak. He just stood there. Alison froze. Her mother whispered, "Don't open it." For nearly 3 minutes, James lingered. His eyes scanned the windows, his hands twitching by his sides. Then he walked away, not toward his car, but around the house. The family held their breath as his shadow crossed from one window to another. He tested the backyard gate. He peered through the side window. When he found no way in, he returned to the front door and started pulling on the handle. The knocking began softly, then harder, then a full force pounding that echoed through the walls. The breaking point. Alison's father, Mitchell Duckrow, stepped forward, firearm in hand. His voice was calm but firm. "Stop. Leave now." But James didn't stop. The camera recorded every second, his expression shifting from pleading to rage. He shouted her name, slammed his shoulder against the door, and tried to kick it open. Inside, Alison was crying. Her mother was on the phone with 911. The dispatcher told them officers were en route, but the seconds stretched like hours. Then, a deafening crack. And silence. When police arrived minutes later, they found James on the front porch, motionless. The scene was surreal. The shattered glass, the splintered wood, and the doorbell camera still blinking red, recording what it had just witnessed. The trial that divided a town. The case sparked instant controversy. Some called it justified self-defense. Others said it was excessive force. But the doorbell footage told the story in brutal clarity. At trial, prosecutors played the video frame by frame. The jury saw the moment James lunged at the door, the fear in Alison's voice, and the final confrontation. It wasn't a question of what happened, only why. When asked if he knew about James's messages, Mitchell shook his head. "No," he said quietly. "My daughter never told me. I didn't know he was coming." The jury deliberated less than an hour. Not guilty. It was ruled an act of self-defense. Still, the footage, that haunting, ordinary doorbell clip, stayed online, spreading across the internet like wildfire. Thousands of people debated it. Some saw a father protecting his family. Others saw a moment where love turned into obsession and obsession into tragedy. A modern horror caught on camera. Today, the Duckrow home looks the same from the outside. The same porch, the same door, even the same camera mounted above it. But the family that lives behind it will never feel the same again. Allison later said she wishes she had blocked his number the day they broke up. She wishes she'd never answered that first call years before. But wishes can't rewrite footage, and the doorbell never forgets. Because sometimes evil doesn't wear a mask. Sometimes it looks like someone you once loved, standing quietly on your porch, asking to be let in. And just when police thought they had seen the worst of doorbell horrors, another case, stranger and more sinister, would soon surface. One where the visitor didn't speak at all. He only wore a mask and left behind a Bible verse about the devil. The Man in the Goat Mask. It happened on the night of January 18, 2025, a cold, windy evening in Carrollton, North Texas. A mother of two was out shopping when her phone buzzed with a doorbell notification. At first, she thought nothing of it. Maybe a package, maybe a neighbor. But when she opened the live feed, her heart stopped. There, standing perfectly still on her porch, was a man. He wore all black, black hoodie, black jeans, black gloves. But it wasn't the clothes that sent a chill through her. It was his face. Or rather, what was covering it. A red goat mask. The eyes were hollow and glinting in the camera's night vision. The horns curled back sharply, the mouth twisted into a demonic grin. In his hands, he held what looked like a cardboard box. He stared directly into the lens. No movement, no sound. Just the faint hiss of wind and the ticking clock of the feed. Then, he rang the doorbell. Once. Slowly. The chime echoed through the empty house. And then, without a word, he turned and walked away. But as he left, he set something down on the porch, a sign. When the homeowner zoomed in later, she could see the words written in black marker. Revelation 20 verses 1 to 15. The verse of judgment. The woman didn't recognize the reference at first, but curiosity, and fear, made her look it up. The Bible passage described the binding of Satan, the final resurrection, and eternal torment in a lake of fire. It was a message no one would ever want left at their door. She called the police immediately. Officers arrived within minutes, searched the yard, and reviewed the footage. But the man was gone, vanished into the night like smoke. There were no footprints, no fingerprints, no vehicle on nearby cameras. And because he hadn't physically hurt anyone, the police couldn't charge him with a crime. When reporters asked how she felt afterward, the woman's voice trembled. "I'm scared. I'm scared to leave the house. I'm scared to be in it. I don't know what he wanted, or if he'll come back." The story briefly made headlines across Texas. Masked man leaves satanic message at woman's door, before disappearing just as quickly as it had arrived. No follow-up, no arrest, no answers. And that's what made it so terrifying. Patterns emerging. Online investigators soon noticed something strange. Similar sightings had occurred across Dallas, Fort Worth, and Denton in the months prior. Late-night visitors, caught on doorbell cameras, wearing masks or costumes. In one case, a man dressed as a plague doctor wandered through a neighborhood at 2 a.m. carrying a lantern. In another, someone left a small wooden coffin on a porch with no note inside. Was it a cult? A prank? A social experiment? No one knew. But one thing was clear. The line between online horror and real life was beginning to blur. Doorbell cameras, once seen as tools of safety, were now capturing something else entirely. The unexplainable. The fear that stayed. For the Carrollton homeowner, life never went back to normal. She replaced her locks, installed motion lights, even adopted a guard dog. But still, every night around 11 p.m., she'd glance at her phone, waiting, dreading, expecting that notification to blink again. The footage went viral on social media, spawning endless theories. Some said it was a failed home invasion. Others believed it was a warning, that she had been marked. And a few whispered something darker, that the man in the goat mask wasn't human at all. Of course, police dismissed those claims. But when you watch the clip in full, when you see the way the masked figure turns his head ever so slightly, as if acknowledging the viewer watching him, it's hard not to feel that chill crawl down your spine. Because whoever he was, he wanted to be seen. The doorbell horrors continue. Months passed. Then came new reports. A stalker in California, a contractor in the UK hiding a secret, a masked trio in Virginia terrorizing a family on Halloween night. Each story different, yet connected by the same unsettling thread. The front door. The knock. The footage. The moment fear steps onto your porch and waits to be let in. The woman in Texas eventually sold her home and moved away. But the new owners say the camera still goes off sometimes, usually late at night, the same time the goat-masked man once appeared. Each time it does, they check the feed. And each time, they pray the porch is empty.